hear what I just read. The characteristic feature of bhav is that it is Shuddha Sattva Vishesha. It is situated in unalloyed goodness. There is no such thing as unalloyed goodness in this material world. Everything is mishra. Everything is mixed here in this world. The three modes of material nature, always mixed. But in the transcendental existence, it is called Shuddha Sattva, pure existence. So, this thing called bhav, it can be compared to what? We just heard the analogy given here. What is bhav? We just heard that prem is like what? Huh? Prem. What is prem? Prem is like what?
It's a ray of sunlight.
No. Prem is the sun, not a ray. In relation to the ray of coming from the sun, in relation to that, bhav is like a tiny little ray of the prem sun. That's what bhav is. Don't forget that. This is the most essential, basic ABC of transcendental knowledge given by Rupa Goswami, given by our acharyas, given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is the most basic. That prem is like the sun planet. And bhav is like a what? Prema suryam shusam yabak. Not even a ray, a particle of a ray. That's all. Bhav is coming from prem. Bhav is coming from prem, just like the sun ray is coming from the sun. But can we say that the sun ray coming from the sun is the sun? No. It's only a tiny, tiny, minuscule little manifestation of the sun's energy. But it is not the sun. So now Babaji Maharaj goes on to further explain and clarify what is bhav. That's what this whole discussion is about now. What we're going to be hearing today. He says that the constitutional characteristic of bhav. In Sanskrit, the constitutional characteristic of something is called the Swarup Lakshan of that object. The Swarup Lakshan. So the constitutional characteristic or the Swarup Lakshan of bhav is what? Is this. That it is situated in Vishuddha Sattva, unalloyed goodness. This is what bhav is composed of. Unalloyed goodness, Shuddha Sattva. Bhav is also known by the name Rati. We hear this word all the time, Rati. But the name Rati is also another name for bhav. And another feature about bhav is that it is sometimes called a sprout of prem. Prem Ankur. A sprout of prem. So the propensity for divine knowledge is called samvit vritti. samvit. All these terminologies you will have to know. You will have to memorize them, and you will have to understand them. Otherwise, you cannot enter into this topic at all. If you don't remember each and every one of these different Sanskrit terminologies, then you will not be able to understand this at all. Do you know that in the spiritual world there are 3 energies? What are they?
Right? And
You're cheating. You're supposed to say 3 things. You only said 2. You said Ladini. That's what we're reading about right now. We're reading about Samvit Vritti. So the propensity for divine knowledge, which is called Samvit Vritti, okay? No one can have any divine knowledge. You can have mundane knowledge, but without Samvit Vritti, no one can realize anything transcendental at all. So that propensity for that divine knowledge, Samvit Vritti, this is an aspect of what? The Swarup Shakti. The Swarup Shakti. This is an aspect of Krishna's Swarup Shakti. What is the Swarup Shakti? Internal potency of Krishna. His Swarup Shakti. It's his internal potency. Antaranga. And what does that internal potency do? It manifests all enlightenment. All transcendental enlightenment and realization. That is manifested through the Swarup Shakti. And this Samvit Vritti is an aspect of that Swarup Shakti. You understand?
Very complicated.
Huh?
Very complicated.
Yeah, but if you don't listen carefully,
I'm listening.
and if your mind goes here and there,
I'm just listening carefully. I'm paying attention. But very complicated.
yeah. We're learning about Krishna and Krishna's Swarup Shakti. And we're learning about how a devotee in this world can attain Krishna in the spiritual world. How is that possible? That transcendental potency from the spiritual world, it has to descend down from there. You cannot climb up and ascend to the spiritual world, no. That potency has to descend down. Bhav is the first stage. As it said here, Prem Ankur, like the sprout of Prem. Bhav is that stage. It is no longer composed of anything of this material world. Not at all. Zero. There is zero of this material world. Bhav is a spiritual manifestation of the sun of Prem, just as a ray of the sun rays is a manifestation of the sun. So the propensity for divine knowledge, Samvit Vritti, we are trying to attain divine knowledge. That tendency to want to attain this, that propensity, is coming from samvit vritti. Without samvit vritti, no one can attain divine knowledge. And what is that samvit vritti? It's an aspect of the Swarup Shakti of Krishna. So it's not of the Bahiranga Shakti, this Maya potency. Has nothing to do with Maya potency. Do you know that Krishna has 3 different potencies?
Shakti, Maya Shakti, Saraswati.
What?
Shakti, Maya Shakti,
And what?
and Saraswati. Then?
You're just guessing.
No, I think so.
You're only guessing. You don't actually know. Krishna has 3 divisions of potency. You got 2 of them, just like before. You got 2, but you didn't get the 3rd one. Chit Shakti, Maya Shakti, Maya Shakti is called Bahiranga. Chit Shakti, Maya Shakti, and what's the 3rd? God, you people are so mixed up. I should have a chart here so that you can see it with your eyes. Yes, but I don't. So therefore you have to see it with your intelligence right now as I'm describing it. What are the 3 divisions of Krishna's energies? Chit Shakti is the spiritual world. That energy of the spiritual world is called Chit Shakti. Why? Because it's fully chit. It's fully conscious. Maya Shakti is the perverted reflection or the shadow of the Chit Shakti, and that is this material world which is achit. Has no chit. And it is Bahiranga. It is Krishna's external energy. But the Chit Shakti is Krishna's internal energy. Try to envision this in your mind as I'm telling you this. Huh? But what's in between? There's only these 3 Shaktis. Yes! Jeev Shakti. The Jiva. The Jivatma. That Jiva Shakti is the what? What is the name for that Jiva Shakti? Huh? Tatasta. Tatasta. The word tata means the bank of a river is called a tata. Just like we sing, Jamuna Tata Chara. Krishna is going along the banks of the Yamuna Tata. So, the tatasta means situated on the bank. And the bank of a river, it is in between the water and the land. Though there's the water of the river, there's the land, but the tatasta, the tata, the bank of the river, it's in between. Sometimes the bank is covered by water, sometimes it's only not covered. So that dividing demarcation line is called tata. So the Jivatma is called Tatasta Shakti. Antaranga Shakti is the Chit Shakti. That's his internal. Anta means internal. Antaranga Shakti. Bahiranga Shakti is the external energy. The Maya Shakti. And Tatasta Shakti, the Jiv Shakti, is the marginal potency. Okay?
Very complicated.
What?
Very complicated.
I can't hear you.
If you write on a paper, then you will paste it and then you can see and remember.
Yeah, so you can do that, Seva. You can make that chart.
You made it.
No, not me. I'll not make it. But if you want that, you make it.
I cannot.
Then it will not be made. So now, continuing here. The divine knowledge, which is called Samvit Vritti, this is an aspect of the all-enlightening intendency, which is called the Swarup Shakti. And this Samvit Vritti is the state of unalloyed goodness, Shuddha Sattva. Shuddha Sattva has no connection with Maya. It is telling here. Shuddha Sattva has no connection with Maya. When this Samvit Vritti, when it combines with what? With the propensity for unalloyed bliss, that's called Hladini Vritti. So when Samvit Vritti combines with Hladini Vritti, then that combination, that is called bhav. You understand? No. Went right over your head.
Listening but forgetting.
What?
Listening but forgetting.
It means nothing. Goes in one ear out the other.
It's happening.
Huh?
It's happening.
What happening?
I'm listening, but I'm forgetting.
Yes. You're forgetting even within 10 seconds after I say it.
Yes.
Then why am I reading this? Why? For what reason? Why am I reading this, and why am I making such an effort to try to convey the meaning of it?
I'm trying, but I'm forgetting.
Then instead of your japamala, you should have a notebook. If you have a notebook, then it will stick. But you don't care. You don't care.
Actually, I do have Devanam's book.
What?
I do have.
I know you have, but you don't bring it. If you bring a notebook and you write down, I just spent the last, 15 minutes, more than 15 minutes, explaining 3 sentences. But you can't tell me even 1 or 2 words from these 3 sentences. You have not understood anything. So what is the use of my making an effort to try to explain it? What is the use?
This is something very complicated for me.
No, it's not complicated. Any child can understand this. There's only a few words. Children learn new words also. This is not complicated. But that means that you're not desiring to understand this. You're not desiring. You're coming in a very neutral way. Okay, I'll listen. And if I understand something, okay. If I don't understand it, I forget 99% of it, that's okay also. That's not a student. That's not a student. I am not here to give my time and my energy and the time and energy of my Guru and my Guru Varga to persons who are not serious. Persons who are not serious, I am not here to try to pound it into their brain, pound and pound and pound. No, I'm not here for that. If somebody is sincere, then they'll read the Jaiva Dharma on their own. Have you read Jaiva Dharma?
So many times. I have been reading for 4 years. Still,
How many times? Then why don't you bring your Bengali Jaiva Dharma and read along? Then you'll get something from this. You should bring your Bengali Jaiva Dharma and read exactly what I'm reading here. This is just an English translation of the Bengali. So many times. So when this Samvit Vritti, when it combines with the propensity for unalloyed bliss, Do you want bliss? Do you want bliss? Do you want bliss?
Yes.
You don't?
Service to Radha.
You want what?
Service to Radha. I want to service to serve Radha.
Yes, but you cannot serve Radha and Krishna without Ladini Shakti. Ladini Shakti is this unalloyed bliss. That's what Ladini Shakti is. So the Samvit Shakti, the Ladini Shakti, they combine together. The Samvit Shakti is the propensity for unalloyed knowledge, and the Ladini Shakti is the propensity for unalloyed bliss. Ladini. And when these two aspects combine together, it is called bhav. So is bhav going to come to you today, tomorrow, next week? Are you going to attain bhav? No, today, tomorrow, or next week. Are you going to attain it in the next 7 days?
Desire to have, but
What?
desire to have, desire to attain.
That's not what I'm asking. I'm not asking if you desire. I said, are you going to attain?
That I cannot say.
No. You know that you're not going to attain. You're lying. You are not going to attain bhav in the next 7 days. Not you, not him, not her, not even me. You definitely are not. Why? Because you're bound in the Maya Shakti. You're bound in the Maya Shakti, and bhav is the combination of what? Samvit vritti and Ladini vritti. That's what bhav is. Do you think it's going to come and descend down into a person who's only on a beginning level of sadhana? Huh? Do you think that's going to happen? No, it cannot happen. It's impossible. It cannot happen. But we're hearing about that stage because that is prayojan. That's the beginning of prayojan. And we must have a fixed understanding of what it is that we are trying to attain. You know how many times Srila Gurudev Narayan Goswami Maharaj told that first you have to fix your goal, and after you've fixed your goal, then you can decide what is the process to attain it. That is what is being discussed here. What is that goal? What it is? What is it? What is bhav? That's what we're studying here. This is what Vijay Kumar and Vrajanath are requesting to hear about from Raghunath Das Babaji Maharaj in the Jaiva Dharma. Why? Because they're serious sadhaks. Very serious sadhaks. Should I continue? Because if you don't understand what I just read, then you won't understand the rest of it. So, now he's explaining how a person can obtain knowledge of any object that's called a vastu. You know vastu? Vastu? First chapter of Jaiva Dharma. You said you've tried to read it many times. You don't know what the meaning of the word vastu is? Vastu means an object. This is a vastu, this is a vastu, this is a vastu. Everything in this world is a vastu. But the first chapter of Jaiva Dharma explains there's two kinds of vastus. Do you know what those two kinds are? Vastava vastu and avastava vastu. Vastava means eternally existing object. And avastava vastu means a non-eternally existing object, temporary object. So, everyone is trying to attain knowledge of different vastus, different objects. So how can you attain a knowledge of a vastu, of an object? The only way is by means of the propensity for consciousness. That's called samvit vritti. Same word, samvit vritti. You can only attain knowledge of an object by means of the propensity for consciousness. And how can you taste that object? How can you taste that object? You can only taste that object through the propensity for unalloyed bliss. That's called ladini vritti. So again, he's explaining samvit vritti, ladini vritti, and how that functions to obtain knowledge of an object and to taste that object, to experience that object. These are the two functions. So now, talking about vastu, object, who is the supreme object? Yes, Krishna is also a vastu, but he's the supreme vastu. He is the supreme object. And his swarup can only be known. How? How can you know Krishna's swarup? No, through the all-enlightening propensity of swarup shakti only. That's how it can be known. There is a function for knowing Krishna. And Krishna's swarup can only be known through swarup shakti, because swarup shakti gives the enlightenment potency. Yes? His swarup can only be known through the all-enlightening propensity of swarup shakti. And it can never be known. Krishna's swarup cannot be known by the mental faculty of the marginal jivas in this world. No, cannot be known. Through the mental faculty. No. So when the swarup shakti manifests herself within the heart of the jiva, by the mercy of Krishna or of his bhakta, only then the cognitive faculty, samvit vritti, of the swarup shakti begins to act within the heart. You can never realize Krishna until that swarup shakti manifests in the heart. But here it's directly told. It cannot be understood by the mental faculty of the tatastha jivas. It cannot be understood in that way. But when this cognitive faculty, conscious faculty, samvit vritti, of the swarup shakti, samvit vritti is part of the swarup shakti. Don't forget that. The swarup shakti is the bigger circle. And samvit vritti, ladini vritti, Sandhini, Vritti are inside that circle of Swarup Shakti. So, when the Swarup Shakti manifests herself within the heart of the jiva, and that will only be when the jiva gets the mercy of Krishna or of Krishna's bhakta, that the Swarup Shakti will manifest in his heart, will begin to act in his heart. So when that happens, then knowledge of the spiritual realm, the Chid Jagat, spiritual realm, the knowledge of that is revealed then. It is then revealed in the heart. You cannot know it in any other way. Without the cognitive potency, samvit vritti, of the Swarup Shakti manifesting in the heart, cannot know spiritual world, Krishna, anything transcendental. So, when that Swarup Shakti begins to act within the heart, then knowledge of the spiritual realm, Chid Jagat, it's revealed then. It is revealed. Now, the spiritual world where we're trying to go to, we're trying to get out of this material world and go to the spiritual world. That's our objective. Yes. The spiritual world is constituted of Shuddha Sattva. Shuddha Sattva. Only that's there. Shuddha Sattva, nothing else. But the material world, it is constituted of a combination of the three modes of what? Raja, Sattva, Tama. That's what the material world is constituted of. Everything here is of the three modes of nature. But in the spiritual world, what is it constituted of there? Shuddha. Shuddha Sattva. Yes. Pure, unalloyed goodness. Pure existence. Everything here is called Mishra. Mishra means mixed. Now, because the spiritual world is constituted of Shuddha Sattva, whereas the material world is constituted of the three modes of nature, now the essential combination of Hladini with the knowledge of the spiritual world, that combination of Hladini with the knowledge of the spiritual world, it enables one to taste the sweetness of that spiritual realm. That's why devotees always want to taste Krishna's sweetness and the sweetness of Braj and all of that. Why? Because they're trying to cultivate this in the heart. So that essential combination of Hladini with the knowledge of the spiritual world, it enables one to taste the sweetness of that realm, that spiritual realm. And when that taste attains fullness, when you're tasting it fully, only then it is called prema. Only then it is called prema. So if prema is compared to the sun, that example, then bhav can be compared to a ray or a kiran of the sun. Kiran means a ray. Bhav is a ray of the sun of prema. And the constitutional nature or the swarup of bhav, what's the swarup of bhav? Is that it is the ray of the sun of prema. Yeah, that's what it is. And its unique characteristic of that ray, of that bhav ray, that's called Visheshata. That means it's characteristic, it's unique characteristic of that bhav, that ray of bhav, is what? It purifies the heart of the jiva. When bhav ray comes into the heart, it purifies the heart of the jiva. And thus it causes the heart to become softened or melted. It purifies the heart. And when it becomes melted, it's called mashrinya. Mashrinya means to melt. Like a block of ice melts. Huh? So now the term ruchi is being mentioned here because this is from the shloka of Rupa Goswami. Ruchi bis chitta mashrinya. That by the 3 different tastes, ruchis, the heart becomes melted. Those 3 are being described here. These ruchis are desires. These 3 types of ruchis are desires. That you desire 3 different tastes. What is the first one? It is called, first I'm reading the English. The desire to attain the service of Radha and Krishna. The desire to attain the service of Radha and Krishna is called what? Prapti abhilas. Prapti means to attain. The desire to attain the service of Radha and Krishna. Someone who's has achieved the stage of bhav, he's always intensely desiring to attain the service of Radha and Krishna. That's the first desire, and that desire melts the heart. The second desire, it is called anukulya abhilas. Anukul means favorable. So, the second desire is to desire to do that which is favorable for Krishna's pleasure. Anukulya abhilas. This is a desire. I want to attain the service of Radha and Krishna. I want to do everything that is favorable for Krishna's pleasure. And the third desire, the desire to serve Krishna with love and affection. That's called sohard abhilas. Sohrid abhilas. From the core of the heart, with love and affection to serve Krishna. Now, do we see these 3 desires being expressed by our acharyas? Yes? In their songs? In their hundreds of songs? Do we see them expressing these desires? Oh, when will I serve Radha and Krishna? Radha Krishna pranamor jugala kishore. Jivane marane gati arnahi mor. All the songs of our acharyas are filled with this prapti abhilas. I want to attain service to Radha and Krishna. Why? Because that's the ray of bhav coming from the sun of prem, coming into the heart, causing the heart to have this desire and melting the heart. I don't know if you're following this at all or what. And in all the songs of our acharyas, they are praying, they're desiring to only act favorably for Krishna's happiness, for Krishna's benefit. Their songs are filled with that. And their songs are filled with the desire to serve Krishna with love and affection. If we sit here for the next 2 hours, I can go through the songbook and show you hundreds of statements by the acharyas that are expressing these 3 desires. That means they are showing us how to attain the stage of bhav. So now, how do you know? How do you know that you are entering into the first experience, the first beginning experience of prema? Well, because the stage of bhav, it can be described as the first glimpse of prema. First glimpse. Now we have no conception. We can say the word prema, prema, prema. We have no conception, no experience. But bhav, yes. Now you're beginning to experience. And that's called the first glimpse, the first time that you are seeing prema. And the word mashrina, it means softness and melting of the heart. Mashrina. I explained that already. And bhav has been described in the Tantra, in the Vedic Tantras, as the preliminary state of prema. Preliminary means beginning state. And when that preliminary state arises in the heart, then what happens? Sattvic vikar. Sattvic vikar. Transformations of the body due to ecstatic experience. The body begins to transform in 8 different ways. So, horripilation. What is horripilation? Standing of hairs on the body. So, when that bhav arises, then horripilation and other transformations of ecstasy, called sattvic vikar, they are manifest, but very slightly manifest. Only slightly. Only very slightly they're manifest. Yeah. But that first glimpse of prema, when now these ecstatic moods start to come in the heart and in the body, even though slightly, it's very, very powerful. But where is this state of bhav fully established? It is fully established in the Nitya Siddha Bhaktas, in the eternal associates of Krishna. The state of bhav is fully, it's called self-established. Svatak Siddha. Svatak Siddha. It's there in the hearts of the eternal bhaktas, Nitya Siddha Bhaktas of Krishna, who are in the spiritual world. And this means that the Shuddha Sattva is eternally present in them. Is eternally present in them. So there is no question of it ever becoming there is no question of it becoming manifest. Because for something to become manifest means that it wasn't manifested before. Now it's become manifest. So there's no question of this in the Nitya Siddha Bhaktas because it's eternally manifest in them. So in the Baddha Jivas, is that who is a Baddha Jiva? Very good. Are you a Baddha Jiva? Are you a Baddha? Yeah. Are you a Baddha Jiva? Yes. Baddha means conditioned, bound, Baddha. So in the Baddha Jiva, this state of bhav, it first manifests where? So we're talking about a Baddha Jiva who is practicing bhakti, sadhana bhakti, going through the stages of advancement. Yes? And now, bhav, this state of bhav begins to manifest when he attains this state. But where does it first manifest? In his mental faculties, manovritti. First, that's the first. Manovritti, in the stage of perfection, he's now reaching perfection. But it first manifests in his manovritti, in his mental faculties, and then it becomes identified with those mental faculties. In other words, bhav overtakes the mental faculties. So, swarupata means that bhav manifests in the mental faculties and fully overpowers those mental faculties. So therefore, although bhav is swayam prakash means self-manifest. Swayam prakash. However, it appears that it did not exist previously. Because bhav is eternally existing. But the bhav, although bhav is now swayam prakash, it's self-manifesting, but it appears that it did not exist previously, and that its manifestation was brought about by something else. Something else caused it to manifest. It's called prakashya. It appears like that, but it's not like that, because bhav is eternally manifest. Now the natural function of bhav, what's the function of bhav? What's the natural function of bhav? Is to reveal the what? The swarup. To reveal the intrinsic identity, the swarup of Krishna and of Krishna's sweet pastimes. That's the natural function of bhav, is to reveal the intrinsic identity, the swarup of Krishna and his sweet pastimes. So bhav manifests in the mental faculties, manovritti, but yet it appears to have been manifest by some other faculty of knowledge. But in reality, the nature or the swarup of bhav or rati is that it is self-tasting, tasting oneself. Swayam asvadana swarup. That's the nature of bhav, that it is self-tasting. In other words, it is itself, bhav is itself the object of taste. And bhav is the enjoyment for the bhakta. The object of taste and the enjoyment for the bhakta. But yet, at the same time, it becomes the cause of the baddha jiva relishing Krishna and his leela. So the nature of, or the swarup of bhav, of rati, is that it is self-tasting. Self-tasting. Swayam asvadana swarup. And that means that bhav is itself the object of taste and enjoyment for the bhakta. But yet at the same time, it becomes the cause of the baddha jiva relishing Krishna and his leela. So now Vrajanath, one of the two disciples of Babaji Maharaj, who are listening to his explanation, now Brajanath asks the question to him, because now he's explained, what is bhav? What is bhav? How does it manifest? So now he asks the question, how many types of bhav are there? Are there more than one? Are there numerous types of bhav? So he wants to know. So now Babaji answers, there are two types of bhav, which are arising from two different causes. Two types of bhav arising from two different causes. The first is bhav that has arisen as a result of what? Bhav that has arisen as a result of ardent spiritual practice. What is ardent spiritual practice? That means sadhana abhiniveshaja bhav. You can open the windows now. The artik is over. Open the door and the windows. So I'm sure that what I just read didn't register at all. There are two types of bhav, which are arising from two different causes. I just read what the first one is. Can you say what the first one is? No. Because you're reading it, that's why you can say it. Yes, how will bhav be attained? How will bhav be attained? There are two different causes which enable one to attain bhav. The first is that bhav can arise as a result of very, very serious spiritual practice that's called sadhana abhiniveshaja bhav. By very serious spiritual practice, sadhana. And the second one, the second type of bhav, arises from another cause, and what is that? That it arises due to Krishna's mercy, or the mercy of Krishna's bhakta. Prasada ja bhav. Prasada ja bhav means from prasad, from mercy, that bhav is arising. But now listen very carefully to the next sentence. Bhav that arises from the practice of sadhana is the most commonly observed. But the bhav arising from special mercy is very rare. So in other words, can we just sit around and say, well, I'm just going to wait for Krishna's mercy to attain bhav? No, never, never, never. One has to act. One has to perform the process through which bhav can be caused. It can be caused to arise. So now he explains that first type of cause for bhav to arise. So his question of Brajanath is, what is bhav that is arising from practice, from sadhana abhiniveshaja bhav? Then Babaji Maharaj explains, there are two kinds of bhav arising from practice. One type of bhav is on the Vaidhi Marg. Vaidhi Marg means the path of rules and regulations, regulative bhakti. And the other type of bhav is on the Raganuga Marg. So ruchi appears first before bhav. Ruchi appears first before bhav. And it is followed by attachment or asakti to Krishna, and then finally rati. So, will you have to attain the stage of ruchi first before you can attain the stage of bhav? Yes, that's what he's saying here. Ruchi appears first. You must first attain ruchi. That is before bhav comes. You must attain ruchi. And then that ruchi is followed by asakti to Krishna. And you must attain that. And then finally, rati. Then finally, bhav. And he says, I consider, Babaji Maharaj says, I consider bhav and rati to be the same. Why? Because this is the opinion of the Puranas and of the Shastras concerning the performance of Natya Shastras. That means the dramatic arts. So bhav and rati are the same. Now in the case of bhav arising from Vaidhi sadhana, how does that happen? The bhav that is arising from Vaidhi sadhana. Well, in that case, Shraddha comes first. Shraddha comes first, and then it gives rise to Nishtha, which in turn develops into Ruchi. But, however, in the case of bhav arising from Raganuga sadhana, Ruchi is produced immediately.
It is produced?
Immediately. So are we practicing Raganuga sadhana? Question. Are we practicing Raganuga sadhana?
We're practicing sadhana, but not practicing.
Then what are we practicing? There's only two types. Huh? Vaidhi. Yes. We are practicing Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. We have the inclination, the desire that one day we can attain ruchi, and by attaining ruchi we can attain greed, and then we can begin to practice Raganuga bhakti. But we are not practicing it now. No one can say, I'm a Raganuga bhakta. Absolutely not. Why? Because you will have ruchi. And if you have ruchi, you will have no taste at all for anything of this material world. Nothing. Zero. If you have ruchi. Gradually, everything else will be removed from the heart if someone attains ruchi. But do you think it's an easy and a cheap thing to attain ruchi? Huh? It's so easy. I went to sleep last night, and this morning I woke up and now I realize I have ruchi. Does that happen? Never. No? So, we just heard about bhav, two different kinds of bhav. One is arising from Vaidhi marg, one is arising from Raganuga marg. Yes? And in what sequence in each one of these pathways this bhav will finally be attained? In what sequence? So, first of all, in the Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, we have to attain the stage of ruchi, of shraddha first shraddha, and then eventually that gives rise to nishtha, and then eventually that can develop into ruchi. Yes. But in the case of bhav arising from raganuga sadhana, then ruchi is produced immediately. So then the question is being asked, what is bhav arising from the mercy of Krishna or of Krishna's bhaktas? What is that? Prasada ja bhav. Bhav that arises from the mercy of Krishna. Prasada ja. Or of Krishna's pure devotee. So then Babaji Maharaj, he answers and he says, bhav arising from the mercy of Krishna or Krishna's bhakta, that is bhav that occurs spontaneously and even without the performance of any kind of sadhana. Did you understand? He's asking the question, what is this bhav that is arising from the mercy of Krishna? Because it's already been explained what the bhav is arising from sadhana. But the other type of bhav is arising from the mercy of Krishna or his bhakta. So he answers that the bhav arising from the mercy of Krishna or his bhakta, that is bhav that occurs spontaneously and without the performance of any kind of sadhana. So now Brajanath is asking the Babaji, please explain this further. So this is very fascinating here. Very fascinating. I'm just going to read this and then we're ending this class. So, he wants to have this explained further about prasada ja bhav. Prasada ja bhav means bhav that is arising through mercy. So Babaji Maharaj is now explaining this more elaborately, and he's saying that Krishna's mercy is bestowed in three ways. There are three ways in which Krishna bestows his mercy. Number one, it's called vachik, by his words. Krishna can bestow his mercy just by his words. Number two, by granting vision. By granting vision. That's called alokdan. And the third way is by grace manifest in the heart. Harda. That's called harda. Grace manifested in the heart. Now he explains that. He says, suppose that Krishna bestows his mercy upon some brahmana. He's giving an example. He says, suppose that Krishna bestows his mercy upon some brahmana by saying, O best of the twice born, may supremely auspicious, blissful, and uninterrupted bhakti arise within you. Who's saying that? Krishna is telling this to any brahmana, and he says, may this supremely auspicious, blissful, and uninterrupted bhakti, may it arise within you. And simply by such words, vachik prasada ja bhav arises within the heart. Bhav that comes from words. Now, he's giving another example that the rishis who were residing in the forest, those rishis that were residing in the forest, they had never previously seen Krishna. They never previously saw Krishna. But when they attained his darshan, Then bhav arose within their hearts. And such is the power of Krishna's mercy. And this is an example of bhav arising due to the Krishna's granting his vision, his alok dan. He grants his vision to them. And then bhav arises. Then the third type, bhav that arises within the heart due to mercy. Oh, this is called harda bhav. And this is observed in the life history of Shukadev Goswami and of other bhaktas in their lives. And when Sri Krishna descended as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he descended as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there were many, many instances of these three kinds of bhav arising from his mercy. Many. One, in fact, he says here, no one can count the number of people who were filled with bhav when they saw Sriman Mahaprabhu. You cannot count. Thousands, lakhs, millions of people. Bhav arose in them when they saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He gives an example here of another. How just by words of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there were two famous persons who obtained bhav just by the words of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Who are they? Jagai Madhai. Just by Mahaprabhu's words, they attained prem, they attained bhav. Yeah. And here's one that's interesting. I don't remember hearing this before, but this is a very interesting fact, that the other type of bhav that arises from within his heart by the mercy, that's called harda bhav. Who is an example of this? Srila Jiva Goswami. Srila Jiva Goswami attained bhav within his heart by Sri Gauranga's mercy. And then he asks the question, what is bhav arising from the mercy of a bhakta? Bhakta prasada ja. Bhav that arises from the mercy of a bhakta. And what is the example? Babaji Maharaj says Dhruva and Prahlad, these two persons, Dhruva Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj, they obtained bhav for Bhagavan by whose mercy? Yes? By Narada Muni's mercy. And bhav bhakti arose in the hearts of innumerable people by the mercy of who? Sri Rupa, Sanatan, and other associates or parshadas of Krishna. By their mercy. Innumerable people. Bhav arose in their hearts. So now Vijay asks, what are the symptoms of the appearance of bhav? How do we know? How do we know that bhav has appeared? Should there be some symptoms?
Yes.
There must be. Otherwise, how are you going to prove it? Anyone can say, I attained bhav, and they can cry tears. Huh? That's what many people do. They imitate. And they're bogus. They're cheaters, rascals. They have not attained any bhav. They're on the material platform, but they imitate the symptom. But they can't imitate all these symptoms. There are 9 symptoms. What are the 9 symptoms? The following characteristics begin to manifest in the sadhak when bhav appears. Number 1, kshanti. Kshanti means tolerance. Number 2, avyarta kaladvam. Concern that time should not be wasted. Wasted. Number 3, virakti. Detachment. Virakti. Number 4, manashunyata. Freedom from all pride. Number 5, ashabandha. Very strong, bound by hope. Very unbreakable hope, Asha Bandha. Number 6, Utkanta. Utkanta means very deep longing. Like we were talking about those 3 different types of ruchis that melt the heart. These are all 3 different types of longing and desire. To do what is favorable for Krishna. To attain the service of Radha and Krishna. Like that. That these are the outward symptom is always very deep longing. Number 7, Namagani Sada Ruchi. Sada means always. To taste, having taste, to always chant Sri Harinam. Always. Sada. Namagani Sada Ruchi. Always having taste. Always, always to chant Harinam. Number 8. Asaktis tad gunakyane. This means, asakti means attraction. Attraction for hearing about Sri Hari's transcendental qualities. If someone has attained the stage of Bhav, they will have extreme attraction for continually hearing about the transcendental qualities, pastimes and so forth of Sri Hari. And the 9th one, the last one, Tadvasati stale priti. He will have affection for the places of Krishna's pastimes. So then these 2 bhaktas are asking him about each one of these symptoms to give a little bit more of an explanation. But we're going to read that in our next class. Gaur Premanande Shri Jaiva Dharma Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai, Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga Ki Jai, Srila Rupa Goswami Pada Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Krishna, Jaya Nitai, Jaya Gaur, Jaya Nitai, Jaya Gaur, Jaya Nitai. Jaya Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Ram, Jaya Nityananda Ram. Jaya Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari. Nitai he, Gaura he, Nitai he, Gaura he. Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Gaura Hari Bo. Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Gaura Hari Bo. Jai Shri Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol Jai Sparikar Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Radha Vinod Bihari Jiyo Ki Jai Radha Madhava Jiyo Ki Jai Gandharva Govinda Sundar Jiyo Ki Jai Ananta Kodi Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol Vrindai Tulsi Devyai Priyai Kesavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satya Vachai Namo Namaha Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha